Hey everybody, it's been a minute. This is a very abridged version of the Adfluencing number 2 that we're going to try to pump out here before LeadsCon. I, of course, am Michael, Chief Commercial Officer at Adfluential, and I'm here with my cohort, Jed Rogers, also from Adfluential. What is your job title these days?
Director of something.
Director
of sales operations.
Listen, everybody, we're a bit of a small operation and we kind of get our hands dirty. Coincidentally, though, that's also why we're a good operation. So, we have been running pretty hot in the auto space over the last 8 weeks. We've scaled from like less than $1,000 a day in spend, running through owned and operated properties on clicks and lead funnels with very minimal calls going through, up to north of 20-25K a day. And the reason we have done that is, all joking aside, in part because we are small and we get involved. We write the scripts, we hire the actors, we film, all of that sort of granular stuff that a lot of people don't want to do because they're dicking around on AI trying to make up whatever hoodwinking sort of stuff they come up with, the click bro life. We don't get involved in. I think one of the hard things about going into a new geo in a new product, because we have no background in auto insurance, is just understanding the network, the market, and who's buying what and why they're buying what and how they operate. What have you been seeing kind of on these calls and everything about the auto space in particular?
Yeah, I think one of the main things that we certainly hear is there's a lot of networks who are taking traffic they don't understand anything about, straight from whether it's a static ad or some AI generated video ad. There's no actual context of what the consumer is actually going to benefit from, and ultimately the carriers are not giving the payouts that these clicks should actually get. And what we constantly hear from people is, how are we getting the EPCs we are? And I guess that all comes down to us actually working with our partners, finding out what the actual metrics are that we need to go after, finding out actually what sort of end client they want to have that gets them the best ROI, which ultimately gets us the best ROI. And we hear this constantly from other people in the industry that that's the biggest pain point in the auto place, and ultimately that's what's taken us time to figure out. But in the last couple of months, we've certainly cracked it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like there's a little bit of a black box concept when it comes to the carrier down through to the marketing company, and everyone wants a level of quality that's commiserate to what they're paying. Obviously ROI is king, but it's tough whenever you're not getting all of the data you need in order to change your creative, to change your targeting, to look at your platform and all of the stuff that we have to do at our end of things to make it good for the Progressives and the State Farms and the Allstates and the bigger sort of macro entities in the industry. There are setbacks and there are difficulties at any point in time when you launch something new, when you scale like complete lunatics. Which, by the way, look, if you're new in this industry and you're just getting involved, you hit a bit of gold. Like going from $1,000 to $25,000 a day in like a 4 or 5 week period is not necessarily the smartest thing you can do. And like, we're very blessed that we have really good clients out there in other verticals like solar in the UK, where we're if not the leaders in it, that we can sustain from a business level, and we can go, hey, fuck it, let's throw it all in. But with that said, if you're new out there and you haven't been doing this for a long time, even if your ROI is strong, one, they can pull it away, and two, don't overstretch yourself on scale. Be smart about it, please. There's a lot of guys out there that are doing really strong ROIs that you just screw yourself over by going too fast. So, public service announcement for the industry from a guy who's made a lot and lost a lot at the same time. Don't overstretch your bounds. But how do we work best? What are we working with now, and what do we want to work with?
Yeah, I think that from us to understand a campaign, first of all, we need to understand exactly what payouts differ between every state. I mean, we can go as broad as that straight away. I mean, first of all, it doesn't take a genius to work out some areas and some states that aren't going to pay as much, or some areas that might have a higher age demographic, for example. We've really got to bring down the feedback we get, first of all, and actually then start to optimize down on that. Now, the problem we have, if we don't have that, it makes it incredibly hard for us to optimize. So the number one thing we work on is optimization, and that basically means that we can look at the campaign from a ad perspective, from a creative perspective, from a journey perspective, and that's one of the things we've learned rapidly over the past few months, is making that journey as smooth as possible. And the beauty we have with the team we have internally is that we can make those adjustments ourselves, and the traffic's ourselves. So we know exactly from the moment the customer clicks on that what's coming through and where we can funnel that down and obviously make the most revenue. So it all comes down to us in terms of what payouts are, targeting. Those are the two most important factors we see, and then we can focus purely on performance.
So I get that, okay, and obviously where we're running our own creative and everything, we're geared towards the more data input we get, the better job we can do.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our current situation, where we're running, primarily clicks and leads, with a bit of call off the back end, however that focus is shifting, day by day.
Yeah.
As we bring partners on, what are you seeing like as the main pain points? Just for us, like in your opinion, what's the main pain point for us? Where do we squeeze out an extra 15% ROI, 10% ROI? Where do we protect the campaign so that we don't get hit with dips, peaks and troughs when it comes to click bids that we've no control over?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, age is right up there as a problem for us from the outset, but I think that the performance feedback metrics is something that we're so used to getting as a company, and it's something we've leveraged our entire time off. Everything we've done in our careers has been based off by performance. But at the moment, we're getting that clarity back. So it means that it's proving really difficult to sustain a high performance, which brings a consistent level of payout. And there we keep seeing the dips coming through. What we're looking for is to ultimately understand exactly how the performance metric works, and especially when we drop into calls as well.
It's hard when you get into a relatively niche segment like auto insurance. It's the sort of product that everyone has because they have to by law. So there's no hooks because you got to have it. So how do you differentiate yourself? We had a cool call with, I think the largest policy binder / aggregator in the country last night, 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And about having kind of direct marketing campaigns, across multiple platforms because, they've seen, and we're super appreciative of it, they've seen the fact that we do stuff a little bit differently than the general marketplace. And talking to them, like that was a major thing we tried to get across was, you got a product, everyone needs it, everyone searches it, but how do you take luck out of the equation? How do you take, the fact that every single one of you offers, if there are 12 of you in this industry, 12 of you offer 12 of the same goddamn thing.
Yeah. How
do you take that out and actually make people more likely to buy from you or to interact with your brand and your company? Because whilst regulatorily, necessary, there's still a marketing piece and there's still an ROI to deliver back to the consumer when it comes to insurances. And, it was cool as A, they were really interested in it, and B, they were open to kind of the ideas of creating sort of some value adds. And
I'll just jump in there actually, because interestingly, when I reached out to them initially, we had no background in auto insurance whatsoever. Quite clearly, I'm English, and so it's always, if they look at someone from like myself and Adfluencing in Portsmouth, England, what are they doing running auto in the US, right? So first of all, that was how my approach was.
You make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, first of all, that came down to showing what we've done previously and what we're all about. It's very hard to start that sales position, from our side with going, what are you running now? Nothing. So it's like
somewhere between fuck it all.
So, but very, very quickly as we've adapted, and I've showed her our progression and what we've done. She was like, well, okay, these guys can do this, and they see what we produce, see how we film ads, and ultimately is why we've been brought in. As they said themselves, one of the top 3 partners that they can work with and develop their auto insurance side with. So it's quite flattering for us in a way.
Which is nice little ego boost. And obviously, if you know anything about me, that's exactly what I need is an ego boost. One thing would be really cool to understand as we go into LeadsCon is we're doing all this scale and stuff. And I get this industry is competitive and there's dog eat dog, and there are some, there's some good guys in the industry and all of that. It'd be cool, like if you are, a quote unquote competitor or someone else in the industry, and you're running, 5, 10 plus, a day and spending the out space. Like, let's talk. Like, let's talk about, experiences and how we can give each other information to help. Full disclosure, I don't want to aggregate. I don't want to buy you traffic. I don't really want to sell you traffic, but I do want to work with you, and I do want to hear from you. So if you're at LeadsCon, you're doing some volume in auto, and you want to shoot the shit a little bit about the experiences and how we might be able to give each other insights on what we're doing, that's awesome. Because again, the black box nature of especially the click funnel via certain providers, it makes it tough to do a really good job for those who want to do a good job, because you have to make a lot of assumptions. And there's a lot of smart guys in this industry, but when you start taking out constant variables and replace them with true assumptions, your margin for error just increases, or your proclivity for error increases. And we might as well work together, because at the end of the day, our bids go up when we work together and we all deliver something that's worth something to the actual end users. You buy calls, you buy clicks, you have your own funnel you want to divert to. That's awesome. If you take leads, please do get in contact with us. We want to talk to you. If you're going to sell leads to 3 different networks, don't waste your time. Don't want to talk to you. You're not going to pay me enough. It's not worth our time. But if you are trying to bind policies, guys, we can do a shitload of good work for you. One space that we really have not taken advantage of in the way that we probably should, probably because we don't really understand it well enough, for being honest, is the call space with auto. Yeah. Like we've kind of sat a little bit in our wheelhouse or comfort zone and gone, what do we know? And like, we get traffic, we get forms, and we get like a really basic funnel. Partially because, like, again, European, UK based, like they don't have calls here. It's not a thing. People are slightly more miserable and don't pick up the phones, and then you get the French and all that, and all that good stuff. And so moving into the US, realistically, I think there's a huge growth opportunity in calls. Yeah. And what I really like about that is that there's not like this network aggregation bias if you can power through find the call centers. And like when we talk about if you bind a policy, like I don't really care if you're State Farm, Allstate, Progressive, pick a provider down to, the general sort of brokerages, or the guys like Lara or Herrera who are just absolutely killing it across, the brokerage space for like life and final expense. Yeah. We want to work with you. We can plug you into our ecosystem and we can work. I think the big thing for us is that like we struggle a little bit because this is not part of the comfort zone. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, we don't really get to talk about it too much in the office anyways. So,
I think it's a market that I hear about constantly, or a lead type effect, as we would refer to it. But we know it's there. We know how it works. We've tested it on different products. Never really put our full focus into it, to be honest. But we have a lot of experience previously in running what we would refer to as a hotkey. But this is slightly different, and I can see huge validity in it.
We messed with ACA a little bit back in the day when we first started Adfluencing. Yeah. And it wasn't our bag. Like we're not aggressive enough for it. It's not our game. It's not to fail. But yeah, like you said, like what are your when you think about the call space and what we do now versus what we want to grow into with calls, like where are your stagger points? Where do you get blocked?
So calls wise, they get blocked initially on the time of call that you're going to get paid for, right? So you want X amount for 90 seconds. Mm-hmm. There's no question about what that means. You get nothing more further than that. It's quite hard to make it commercially work for you in that sense, or understand what your actual true investment is going to be to get where you want to be. And it's how you generate that call as well. Like, do you run a specific PPC campaign that goes to a page and then the customer calls in, or do you run calls alongside lead gen, or do you run a dodgy advertorial that goes into clicks? You know, it depends how you want to play.
I like a hybrid funnel.
Yeah.
Like I like a hybrid funnel with like propensity based outcomes.
Yeah,
which probably overcomplicates the fuck out of things.
Yeah. But it's ultimately how you play it, and it's trying to understand from the outset where that performance comes in for the end buyer, because obviously everyone's looking for 90 seconds plus, what we see, which is great, but also, you know, we do want to make sure that if we're going to run it heavy, we want everything.
So, but I think that's the thing, like, just to clarify, because I think you're trying to make it, you're belaboring a little bit the whole time caps of a concept. Realistically, getting someone on the phone for 90 seconds isn't hard if you're a good salesperson.
No.
And the marketing funnel's correct. I think, again, it goes back to when we have these conversations, people are running calls. You want to pay us $90 for 90 seconds. Awesome. Sounds fucking great. What do you want targeting-wise? What's the messaging? You know, the goal here isn't just to get them on for 91 seconds. The goal is to get you someone on the line that actually wants to buy a policy from you. I think that's like, kind of, you know, not to speak for you, but I think that's a little bit of the sticking point is the targeting, and again, that only happens when we have these conversations. Yeah. So, like, if you're specifically a call-based call center, regardless of who you're working for, and you're taking the leads, like, hit Jed up, like, talk to them, tell them what you want.
Yeah,
I think that's the key. Like,
yeah, we want to know, because if we're going to push calls like we want to, and like we've done with clicks, we want to know what works, because what works we can change from the outset, from the initial part of the advert the client actually sees on the ad, and we can funnel that in all through our journey and maximize what is actually going to work for everyone. So the more info we have, the better we can do it, and that's ultimately because we don't aggregate traffic, so we know exactly what we're generating.
Yeah, we can make changes and affect them.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, at the end of the day, we can deliver just about anything anybody wants.
Yeah.
Just where's the ROI for them and us?
Yeah.
And what are you willing to pay for? Like, we always talk about, you know, some like, it's a bit wanky, but our content, our leads, and profits. Like, the one thing that mystifies me throughout my career, Matt's career, you know, is every time in this industry we say what we're going to do and how we do it, and then when we do what we say we're going to do, when we do it the way we say we're going to do it, and people are surprised.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not just the tagline. Our content is our content. Our leads, it's because we generate the leads from our content. We run our campaigns. Your profits, because we do actually care about your ROI.
Yeah.
It's not a one-way street.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that is the one thing that I think when we talk about the whole tagline that we have, a little motto, slogan, whatever, it's true.
Yeah.
It's not bullshit. Like, you know, as much as this industry is full of shit, that's not. Yeah. We actually want that. And I think what you're saying is just whatever you want it to be, let us know and we'll find it.
Exactly.
You might not like the price of it, but we'll find it.
Yeah.
You see it going product-wise, specifically in the US, and specific to LeadsCon, who do you want to talk to?
Yeah, good call. I mean, life insurance is right up there for us. We've seen how it works. We know how it works. We know a lot of the end buyers that we want to meet. We've got a very good idea of the demographic. We've got a very good idea of how to generate leads, clicks, and calls. And we think that's an area that we can meet, and we've certainly seen a lot of people attending LeadsCon, and we've got meetings lined up already. Mm-hmm. So that for us is a market that in the UK, for example, we have a huge amount of experience in, and as Michael was probably seeing on his previous videos, 1 in 3 life insurance policies back in 2019, 2020 was actually come through our marketing. So anything written in that time was through us. So we understand life insurance inside out, and we think that's a really easy product for us to drift across to. And also some of the carriers right now and agencies who we're already working with for auto have that as well, as they're already working with life insurance, so we've seen that as a nice synergy. So that's a new one. Home insurance goes hand in hand with auto, as we've learned. You know, we've got the bundle that everyone looks for in terms of auto and home. Why not drift into that? So if you're specifically in home insurance and looking for people who actually, you know, might be a referral from auto, for example, we will have those people available. So that's another insurance that we're looking for. Drifting out of insurance, obviously there's lots of other products that find expensive.
Yeah, as exciting as that is.
Yeah. But drifting out of that, we do want to look at the debt settlement side and debt consolidation, for example. It's a product we've been approached a lot about. We had some really good meetings. One of which, shout out to Turbo Debt, who we first met up in New York. Rodney, love you. And but again, it's an eye-opening market for us, and it makes a lot of sense to us. We've run it in the UK again, and we understand again what we're looking for, and so that's another product. So again, if you're in that market and want to reach out to us, feel free. LeadsCon app, LinkedIn, whatever's best. The other products we're looking at is Mass Tort. One of those is MVA. MVA, we actually had a really, really good meeting with Michael out in London. Actually, he was over from New York. We spoke about the product. Again, it's totally new to us, but we learned a lot about the product and how that works and what the payouts are.
And just to clarify, Michael Blum, Phillips Law, down in Arizona. We're going to catch up with you. If you're at LeadsCon, let's hook up. Dinner and drinks are on you this time, by the way.
Very true. But yeah, so that's a product that we see would be quite not simple, sorry, that sounds stupid, but a product that we could flip into.
Look, it is simple. It is simple.
No,
you give us the tools we need, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, true.
So, life, MBA, home insurance, we're coming into the season where people actually want to go on roofs around the country, coming into the season where you start running air conditioning and HVAC and all that because shit breaks, you need call outs. Like
solar.
Yeah, solar, you're big on roofs, solar panels. We're up for it, Stodolak and the guys at Connection Holdings, you've been really patient with us, appreciative. We are going to come back to that. We are going to get it going now that it's not dying a death. We're looking forward to these relationships that we've started to build last year and throughout this year and pumping it. And if you're at LeadsCon and you're in any of these spaces and you are an end user, come talk to us. If you're a network, peace and love. But if our leads are going through 3 different people, I'm not bothered. I don't want to talk to you. You guys are great. Love you. Do a good job for certain affiliates. It's not for us. We want to talk to people who are actually servicing these leads because very simply, those are the people we can do a good job for. And I don't want to work with you if I can't do a good job for you. And I think the rest of Adfluencing is really great.
Absolutely.
Let's wrap this up really simply. LeadsCon again, April 7th to April 9th. Our diary is filling up. Get in contact with Sarah Kennard, get in contact with Matt Milnes, get in contact with Jed Rogers, get in contact with myself, Michael Hubbard. And if you are using leads in a product where there is scale and growth, we want to talk to you, we want to work with you. And just to reiterate one last time, for the 1,000th time on this, our content, our leads, your profits.